Hello and welcome to RVCasts, brought to you by Curb and Turf. On this show, you will get insight from our full-time RVers, Dave and Traci Stanley, as they showcase out of the ordinary RV sights and adventures, along with tips and tricks for enhancing your RV experience. And now, let's hit the road.
Welcome to another episode of RVcast. Today we're on Route 66 in Oatman, Arizona, and I've got with me Chris Crawford, owner and purveyor of this beautiful historic building. So, Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up in Oatman.
Well, like 95% of the proprietors here, you inherit your way into town.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to buy any of the buildings. It's a lifetime thing. So my great aunt and uncle ran the water company for the Tom Reed mine. And it's the same water company that provides water to the 97 folks that live here in Oatman. So it's the ghost town that refuses to die, is what they like to say. The coined term is.
So 97 total population,
yes,
full-time?
97 full-time, yeah.
Wow, that's a huge metropolis.
Oh yeah, right? 100 years back in time. 100 years ago, there were up to 10,000 gold miners in the area though, so.
Wow.
Yeah, so way more back then.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
So what is the history of Oatman and how did your family turn into it? It was a gold mining town.
It was a gold mining town. There were 500 gold mines in the area, and different north, south, east, and west. They have only one gold mine going right now. Mm-hmm. And so my aunt and uncle would run the water company for the residents and the gold miners, and they moved into the oldest stick-built house, which is now, it's the first schoolhouse in Oatman, and it was the quarantine hospital for the Spanish flu.
Oh.
So we stay there. We'd come over for the winters from Montana and stay with the family and hang out. And so I bought this building, so it gave us something to do. I don't sit around by the pool or do nothing very well, so we call it retired and rehired. So
there you go.
We're here hanging out, but now we're our own boss and the whole family's in on the fun.
Wow. So born and raised in Montana?
Born and raised in Montana, yep.
Okay.
About 150 miles south of Glacier National Park.
Oh, wow. So from one beautiful spot to another.
Yeah, from the freezing to the hot.
That's great.
Yeah.
So speaking of temperature, what kind of range do you get here in Oatman?
Oh, well, it goes from about 45 degrees on up to 135 degrees in July and August.
Oh.
So I was out trimming the trees, working on the buildings, and it's 135 is too hot.
Wow. So is this your the main building that you own? Because you own several here in Oatman.
I own 11 100-year-old buildings in Oatman.
Wow.
Yeah.
100-year-old.
Yeah.
And
so this is the largest one. This is the commercial building that I have, and it's the Oatman Drug Company.
Okay.
And the Arizona Central Bank is what they built, half in the front in 1914, and the back was built as a bank in 1916, a few years later. And upstairs there was the doctor, dentist, lawyer, essay office, telephone company, and judge's chambers.
Oh
So it was a commercial building. All the gold miners would come here to do their business.
Right. So what's an SA office?
SA office is where they bring the gold to here, and they weigh it, and then they would give cash to the gold miners, and then they would take the gold and ship it off to be used by, jewelry makers or coins and stuff way back in the 1800s and 1900s.
Wow.
So
this building really was the hub of Oatman.
yes, it was. Yeah.
And then up the road here, right on Route 66, there's some other significant historical buildings. You've got the Oatman Hotel and things like that.
You have the Oatman Hotel. This building's a little older than the Oatman Hotel. The Oatman Hotel is one of the oldest stucco buildings in the district area of the Arizona,
Wow.
So, and there's the schoolhouse, like I was saying, that one was built in 1900 that we own, that's right next door to this building.
So that one's actually older than this one.
Yes, it is. Yes, that's the oldest building in town that
Fantastic.
still stands. And then several mining shacks. The mining shacks were about 600 square feet, and some of them go on up to about 1,200 square feet.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And so the mining shacks, that's where the miners would obviously.
Yes.
Would they rent those, or?
The miners would own the shacks, but the mines own the land.
Oh,
and
okay.
so there was a protection clause. If a lot of accidents would happen in the mines, so if something happened to the husbands, then the mines themselves could not kick the widows out.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a federal law that helped protect those miners' wives.
Wow. And are there still like just individual prospectors that go out and just tinker around and stuff?
There are a few. With the land that I purchased, I've got 177 acres, and I have 4 gold mines. I don't mine myself, but we do have an adventure where some people are going to do some mining someday.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
How fun.
So.
And so do you ever get up there as just a hobby and just kick around yourself?
Yeah, we go up and hike. I've got my dad is going on 84, and he's a billy goat. He decides to go up for a hike, and I go with him, and we hike around the mines and throw rocks in. Some of them are over 700 feet deep.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, they are shaft mines. They go down, and then they catch a gold vein, and then they'll travel almost uphill from that. They said they usually follow a vein uphill.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So we hike around a lot.
So a lot of the places just right here in town, the tourist looking things, they're the old things, what you would imagine a mine to be, the
Yes.
opening that you walk in.
Right.
Were those dug originally as mines?
That was a potato cellar.
Oh,
So
is
for
that right?
potatoes and dry storage, so that was a food storage, but they've made it a little bit bigger so that people
Yeah.
can safely see what a mine would have looked like.
Okay.
So.
And they would just do the old cable and pulley system to drop miners down into these shafts?
Yeah, they called it a lift hoist, and so we did find one of those near one of my mines. We're going to bring it into town, and then we're going to renovate it so that we can have it in the back vault garden, the bank vault garden, and so that way people can take pictures. They can go in and stand in it, and we'll get it stabilized and secure it down so it can be used for educational.
Sounds great.
People.
So what's the current use of the building here now?
The current use is the old school soap works. We have a soap company with everything made from scratch. We make about 12,000 bars a year, and I make them myself with the help of my family.
Oh, fun.
And we have friends that help run the store so we can be open 12 months out of the year if it's not too hot.
Yeah.
August sometimes we close down for a couple of weeks because I don't want anybody to have to go through that Death Valley heat.
Right.
So,
right.
and then there's a Western shop, and also Miss Kitty's is a clothing store as well. So some of the people that live in my gold mining shacks can come down, and it's a way for them to have some work and to earn some money. So they have a little
nice.
corner in the store that they can sell their wares.
So how did you get into soap making? Was that something that you did up in Montana? Or?
Yeah, soap making was a hobby, and there's a really compelling story behind how we opened the soap company here. When COVID hit and they shut down the world, basically, we had 40 bars of soap at the house, and we lived in the quarantine hospital for the 1918 Spanish flu, which was the schoolhouse.
Right.
And so we went out, my husband and I went out in the desert. Everybody from the big cities came in their campers and their motorhomes, and they were everywhere, all around Oatman. So in 40 minutes, we drove 40 miles and gave away 40 bars of soap. So we came back to the quarantine hospital, and we thought, okay, 40 days, 40 nights in the desert. And so my kids, who were nurses and working in medical facilities at the time, had called a few weeks later and said they're having trouble with their hands, and they're cracking, and they're on the front lines. They had to stay working through COVID. And so the doctors and the nurses and I got together, and we revamped my recipe. So it's 6 times germ killing, but also healing to your skin. So we added all the components, and I raise all the botanicals, rosemary, sage, a lot of those things that kill germs and disinfect, and then added in the vitamin E, the aloe vera, and the shea butter and all that. So the doctors now use those before surgery
right?
in Montana that my kids work for. And so my daughter's esthetician school, skincare school, also those medical facilities and the schools all endorse our product because we worked together to come up with the product. So then it ended up that we started selling because our insurance company shut down due to COVID, and so we switched our careers. So.
Wow. Another great success story of a pivot.
Yes,
That
Ingenuity.
Yes.
Small town, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Right, for sure. Well, that's fantastic. Well, let's just take a look inside and also the vault garden. What is the vault garden?
So since the back half of the building was a bank, and we decided, one of my gals, Miss Kitty, that has her store, is also a master gardener of all of the desert plants.
Oh, nice.
And so she planted like a 60-foot garden, and then in the back we've got a big yard, and we're taking and turning that. So we named it the Bank Vault Garden because it's right outside where the bank initially was in 1916. So.
Wow. And you've still got the original vault.
Yes, we do. We can show you that.
Of the bank. Well, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, let's go take a look.
Okay, sounds good.
Wow. So this is the entrance of the
Oatman Drug Company building.
Oatman Drug Company building.
Yeah.
Route 66 sign right here on the floor.
Here's the original door, the door handle that's really unique and decorative. With the gold mining town, I'm amazed at how fancy everything is.
Yeah.
With the details in the houses here.
Do you happen to know where those were produced or anything like that?
I do not.
Okay. But because there's often a story behind some of the nice fixtures, and maybe they came out of another building or came from England or something like that.
Yeah, they did import a lot of those ornate things from there. So.
For sure. And there is a ton of soap in here. Right?
We have 73 different kinds of soap that are all handcrafted.
Wow, fantastic. So not only incredibly effective soap with the natural antibiotics, or not antibiotics, natural disinfectants?
It's, antifungal, disinfecting, and moisturizing all in the same.
But goodness, that's a work of art. Beautiful work.
We have different stories behind all of the bars of soap. I have one called Gold Miner's Wife, and it's lavender and lilac. And that tells all the stories. You get a piece of paper with it, and it tells stories about what it was like to be a gold miner's wife here in Oatman back in the 1800s and 1900s.
I imagine it would have been a piece of cake, right?
Oh boy, yeah. They used to have to put cans of turpentine under all the beds so that bugs wouldn't come up into the beds, and so the cans of turpentine would keep them away. That's one of the things that they did. And they would have the water in the sacks that they would hold between two buildings on a cable to keep the water pure. And some of it, when they were doing laundry, they would have to bring the water out and put it in the shade because the water would come out of the pipes already boiling. Because it's on top, if it's 130 degrees outside and you put it in those pipes, it bakes it up, and so they would have to put it in the shade. Even up into the 1980s, they were still putting in the shade before they could do their laundry if they didn't want hot water for their laundry.
Oh my goodness.
So,
what a great story.
So here's the gold miner's wife, and then I've got, this one is Prospector, so those two.
How fun.
So the lilac and the lavender, and you get a little piece of paper with an authentic picture of the women in town. And then the Prospector, the white, when there's quartz in the hills and the men were looking up into the mountains to find the gold, they would always look for the mountains that had the gold. And that would be next to the quartz. And this is the salt. There's salt that is mined in Salt Lake City that I use, and then this black, that is coal from Colstrip, Montana, which is also mined. So whenever we can go with the stories of that, then we'll do that. And the Burros, the history of the Burros is on that piece of paper too.
Very cool. So this isn't just going out and finding whatever's easy to find. You actually go out and find some really high quality, authentic items, ingredients to put into your soap.
Yep, and then we try to we design it after some of the history that had happened with the mining, and then it could be educational. We find photographs and we type up a piece of paper that you can get with it. And the botanicals, if there's any of the rosemary and sage and lavender, roses, pumpkin powder, any of those I grow myself, so nothing comes from a factory. It's all natural, and I know where it comes from so that I'm not putting anything caustic into the soap for people.
Who knew there was so much interesting things about soap.
Yeah, it's fun. You'll never go back once you use handmade soap.
Right? Oh, fantastic. And is this soap that you would just use regular, like you use a bar of Dove or Dial or whatever?
Yes, yeah. Some of the ones, if you have skin problems or if, depending on your age, if you're a teenager or if you're going through health troubles, there's different ones I can line people out with. And the oats and honey that I put together, if you have oats, it's really soothing to the skin. And then the honey we put in here and the beeswax for a hardener. Honey is for bubbles, and we have a beehive rescue here on our acreage that whenever things get flooded out, we allow people to bring their bees, and then they trade for the beeswax and the honey, and I therefore put them in all my bars of soap, so it helps all the way around. Stories behind everything, I tell you.
And this one just looks like a party.
Yes, that one is Miners or Flakes.
Where did that name come about?
Oh, well, miners chisel away and chip away and get flakes of gold, and they're after all that gold. So, yeah, I named it Miners or Flakes, and then there's little bits and pieces. So that one has burro milk in it. There's quite a few since the burros bring the gold out, and the miners work with the burros. Then we did the gold flakes and then the white burro milk as well.
Wow. You don't go out and actually milk the burros.
No, I do not milk the burros. It would be a challenge.
But somebody does.
Somebody does somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic.
And this one is confiscated carrot and burro milk. See if we can find a real pretty one. I think this one works. So the white is the burro milk in here.
And so is the burro milk, is it like real creamy? Is that why you would use the burro milk?
There's proteins in any of the milk products. And so the confiscated carrot and burro milk, the story behind that is when quite a few people will come through town, there used to be 1 million a year. Now I think that's at least cut in half. Because of the COVID and the sign of the times. But when they come in, they used to feed carrots. So they'll still at times buy carrots. And if you have that many people feeding that many carrots all day long, it's too much sugar for the burros. They can have 1 or 2 if they're in a farmyard behind your house. But if it's a nonstop 350 carrots a day, then it's just too much, it makes them sick. So we will trade them the hay pellets and then confiscate the carrots, and then the shopkeepers bring the carrots here. I trade them for a free bar of soap, and then I dehydrate the carrots and turn it into powder. And carrot powder is natural sugar, makes better bubbles, and it's a natural preservative. So I don't have to put chemicals in my soap for preservative. I use salt and carrot powder and such. That's natural preservatives.
The old-fashioned way, right?
That's right, that's right.
Well, fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
So this was the bank lobby, and I would like to tear out the carpets and the 1970 paneling and stuff, but we want to make it so it looks just like the bank with the hardwood floors and the office buildings, the teller cages and stuff. So in through here is the bank vault.
Okay. So I got to ask you, while we're talking banks, are there any stories of bank robberies or anything?
That's a good question. I will be showing you a spot in the bank vault that somebody tried to break in from upstairs.
Oh.
I don't know if it was the telephone company, if they got in and it's the section where there was either the SA office or the telephone company, if they broke in from the top and tried to get in. So I'm not sure what time. We're trying to get the era and the date, if it's in any of the newspapers or if the sheriff's records, so we can find out the story. But it's obvious that someone tried to get in. So there used to be bars of gold in here. Now it is bars of soap. So the vault holds all the soap. But we've got the nice big door with all, it's original. It's still in working condition.
Wow. And
so,
what does this date back to?
Our last maintenance is dated 1923.
Wow.
So, which would be the 20s of when.
Yeah. So the door actually predates that because that was just a maintenance record.
Yeah. They built the bank in 1916. So I would imagine that's the date that they would have obviously had this in. There's two of these. One is a smaller one for the head teller to get change to the tellers.
Right.
Ironically, I went to banking school at a high school, so isn't that weird? So then it's got the double doors here.
Oh, yeah.
That close in. And they've got the gold on the lettering and stuff. And so it's a double closure. And then you come in. It's like a concrete bunker, kind of like what ice houses used to be. They had the real thick walls, but they were full of sawdust. This is the concrete so that you can't easily break into it at all.
And do you happen to know how thick the walls are here?
They're about 2 feet.
Okay.
2 feet. And then up here, there's the hole that somebody almost missed, but you can tell that they were trying to break into the vault, and you can also tell that they've tried to patch it. So, yeah, little bank robbery from
wow.
19-something.
Which it could have been very bonanza for them because this would have been
right.
filled
This
with...
would have been where they, oh, yeah, that would have been,
Wow. So with the evolution of this building, one of the things was the original drugstore.
Yes.
Right? And I see an Oatman soda fountain.
Yes.
Is that here?
That was here, and during Prohibition, most of the people would start coming in, and the proprietors of the drugstores also made the first soda pops. And so it ended up they needed a gathering place during the time that there was speakeasies. And so they had done that here, and the Oatman Drug Company had 13 of the stools. And on the floor here, you can see the holes of where those 13 stools were. So we do know from that that it's proof that those were on this side of this building.
So it would have been the fountain, or the bar, countertop, whatever. And then the stools out along here.
Yes.
And then all of the workings along the back there.
Yep.
So do you know any stories of sneaking in some illegal hooch in the soda fountain?
Oh, well, I do. There's a picture. There's a picture on the other side that is of during the Prohibition. And so, ironically, Arizona declared Prohibition 5 years before the rest of the country.
Really?
Now, I came across some documents that tell of the Bootleggers Union #1. So if this was the first state to declare Prohibition, you can surmise that Oatman and the miners came up with the very first Bootleggers Union in the country. Isn't that cool? So yeah. So this was probably not quite a speakeasy, what they called it. And we have photographs, also posters of that in the building. And it was the health club. So yeah, instead of the speakeasy, health club. So yeah,
health club.
Yeah.
So I take it that there weren't like weights and treadmills and things like that in the health club.
Yeah, no, it wasn't nowadays health club. Yeah. So we have a line of soap that is in our men's table that has real beer, and we have some that has real rum and Irish whiskey, and it's called our Prohibition line. And so and then the piece of paper you get with those bars tells about Prohibition and the Bootleggers Union and how that came about. So
wow.
Yeah.
So how many levels are there to the building?
There are 2 levels.
2 levels.
Each level was built as a 2-story, so there's 1,500 square feet below, 1,500 square feet above, and then they added the same in the back, so it's 6,000 square feet total.
Fantastic. Well, let's head on upstairs.
Okay, sounds
good. All right.
And here's another essay office.
Yeah.
That's here, which is in part of my land encompasses Elephant's Tooth. So, and this is why some of the bars of soap have that really white
that shape,
jutted out. Yeah. So yeah, and this is Hard Rock Annie. So she was there during the 60s, and she was one of the only women. There's 3 of us women who've ever owned gold mines here in Oatman, and I'm one of them. So I own 4 mines, and she was a successful cook and waitress, and she would take and open up a restaurant in town here for the miners and build it up, and then she'd sell the restaurant. Then she'd open another one. Of course, her customers followed her because she had all the recipes. And so she successfully did that several times, more than 3. And then she ended up buying a gold mine. And then she said, yes, she sunk her lot into the gold mine and didn't come out successful from gold mining. And I ended up buying her house. So I have Hard Rock Annie's house. And so I'm going to make that part of the tour and have it be part of the mining district. So the buildings have all the history behind it, and I hope to have displays like this on a walking tour, and then people can see more of the history about the buildings.
Fantastic.
So, yeah. And I'll take you through here. I'm not sure what this section was.
Okay.
The front, because it's really quite primitive, I guess, because a lot of the buildings that I've renovated, I've done with my family over the last 30 years in Montana. And this was the dentist's office and the doctor's offices in the front.
Okay.
I have signs that show that that is to be true for dentist and doctor. But with the primitive aspect of how I can't tell from the floors and the ceiling and the walls. Usually I can tell where offices are, and then I need to look up more records.
Right.
And to find out the photographs are not clear enough when I zoom in. You know, you try to do the editing, and I need to get somebody who really knows what they're doing, like NCIS or somebody that's like, tell me what that name is that's hanging here and here on a shingle.
Sure.
Yeah. You just have to get all the old stuff out.
Right.
I strip it down, I take out all the garbage, pack up the artifacts and put them in holding in a safe place. Then we strip down all the stuff that's obviously not part of the history. And then after we've done our research, then we put it back the way it was. So that's what I hope to get done.
These were obviously all windows and
They
things?
were. I'd like to put the windows and doors and the outside decking so you could walk all the way around. I'd like to put that back. And then here, if that light's not too glaring, here you can see where the telegraph company was. And the gal that came up and said, yep, that's my sister, worked there when she was 16.
I'll be.
And so all that's left are all the cables and stuff. The switchboard has been gone. All the cabinets are gone.
Right. My mother worked in the old, connect this line to this line and shared lines.
There you go.
And all of that jazz.
Telephone operator.
Yeah. So she
this
knew.
Is the gal.
And so the one on the left, she actually worked in this building.
Her sister.
Oh, her sister
But
actually.
she grew up here.
Wow.
And her grandpa and her dad worked in the gold mines. And they told about swimming in the swimming pools of the sediment water from the, right.
What were those, the tailings ponds? Is that what they were called?
That's right. So yeah, it'll be a fun family project to fix it up.
This is a huge project, a labor of love, really. Huh?
It's my second 6,000 square foot building. So I've done mini barns and 100-year-old buildings in Montana, trying to encourage people not to tear them down.
Yeah.
So I would paint murals, started a quilt barn trail in Montana, so I'd paint big murals so that they could go by, and then I would pull up the homestead certificate. So if I get to paint a mural on your barn, I bring you the history and the homestead certificate signed by the President of the United States.
Wow.
On that particular piece of property. So it's fun.
Just right outside the main shop that we spent some time in, these are some of the wild donkeys that you see all over Oatman, huh?
Yeah, they were descendants. When the war effort was during World War II, the government declared mining for gold as non-essential to the war effort. So they shut down the mines, and they took all the metal pieces, disassembled them, and put them towards building airplanes, melted them down, recycled them, and then they let the burros go. So these are some of the descendants from the burros of the 1940s of the original gold miners in Oatman area.
Wow, fantastic.
Hi, babies.
And just to kind of give you some perspective, Route 66, just right out here, runs in front of the building. And then as we swing back around, we have the Oatman original schoolhouse.
Yes.
And this is part of your collection as well, yeah?
Yes, it was built in 1900, And it was used up until 1918, where it was abandoned as they built a 4-bedroom or 4-classroom newer school. And so this then became the quarantine hospital for the Spanish flu of 1918.
Amazing.
It was also a water company and a Hollywood movie set.
Uh-huh.
So for How the West Was Won, MGM Studios built the covered bridge from scratch, and it holds up to 8,000 pounds. So as you see in the posters, they had the real horses and the real wagons on there, and if you calculate the weight of a horse, then it comes up to the 8,000 pounds. So.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah.
So how about some of the terrain out here? You've got an interesting landmark right up here called Elephant's Tooth.
So that is Elephant's Tooth. It's part of my mining claim. I have 7 gold mining claims. And so when they see Elephant's Tooth, as the gold miners and the prospectors came up into the area, they knew that the White Mountain had quartz, which is part of my gold mining claims. There's 2-3 mines up there that I have. That one I think is more than 700 feet deep down the shaft, and then they would go horizontal from there and catch a vein and follow a vein. And they would bring down the tailings in the buckets down to have them processed.
Uh-huh. So. Wow, and so is there a network of trails or roads up there?
There are old roads that a lot of them were put together by the CCC, which was the Sitgraves Pass. When you come up over this pass, you can see all the stacked rock. And so when the men came back from the war, the Civilian Conservation Corps sent them to trade schools and taught them how to do new trades. And so they had built the highways and everything during the part of the New Deal. So building the highways, and they're very fascinating, the way the quality of the construction goes on those.
Wow.
And so the old roads here that go up to the mines, there were up to 12 or more of the burros and the mules. The mule teams hauled the huge gold mining equipment to build the mines that go up there. And flash floods have taken quite a few out, but you can still see those old road beds, but nothing current that you can go up.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, it's fascinating. There's old relics and everything you find.
Right. Thank you, Chris.
Yes, thank you so much.
This has been a delight getting to know you, getting to know your property and some of the history of Oatman, Arizona.
Oh, it's a crazy little place to live, a little 1-burro town, but...
Oh, I saw a few more than one burro.
Sometimes we get up to about 21, but
wow.
The BLM likes to keep them down. The little boys, when they get to be a year or two old, they've got hormones and they get pretty raucous. And
I'm sure.
They want to keep the numbers down so the tourists don't get to run over.
Yeah, fantastic. So right here on Route 66, this is a fantastic stop, a must-see, because as you go through, as you drive through Oatman, you're going to think, man, this looks like an old mining town, and it is. But thanks to people like Chris here who are dedicated to preserving history, and you got to come in, support her shop, and that will support the history and the refurbishing of Oatman. So,
absolutely, we appreciate it. All the money goes straight back into preserving the town and the 100-year-old buildings.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Chris, it's been a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Awesome.
And hope you enjoyed this episode of RVcast. Stay tuned for many more adventures as we travel across the country, checking out cool places just like Oatman, Arizona. Until then, we'll see you on the road. Thanks for tuning into another episode of RVcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our latest adventures on the road.
And don't forget, if you're itching to explore unique and interesting RV destinations, be sure to download the Curb and Turf app.
That's right, Curb and Turf, it's your go-to for finding those hidden gems off the beaten path. And hey, if you own property and you want to share your slice of paradise with fellow travelers, why not become a host yourself?
Absolutely. Just head over to curbandturf.com/start hosting to get started, or reach out to us for more information.
Yeah, and you don't want to miss a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to RVcast so that you never miss a beat.
Until next time, happy trails and safe travels.
We'll see you on the road.